right, we'll call to order the meeting, planning board meeting Tuesday, October 15th, 6 o'clock. We're in the main assembly room. Could I have a roll call?
Thomas Callahan.
Present.
Mark Brady.
Here.
Dr. O'Neill.
Here.
Jerry Burnetto.
Absent.
With cause.
Rupert Friday.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a full member report.
We don't have any announcements outside of the 28th. We'll be getting together for our working meeting. That's a public meeting, so the public is invited. For all those throngs that are watching us outside on TV, you are welcome to come.
Are we on TV too?
We are. We're going to be televised that night. It's a legal meeting, right?
Yes, you should be.
Should be. Okay. I have nothing else. Planning board bylaws and rules of procedure.
Yes,
Jill?
thank you. So, the hearing development team worked on making some changes to your rules of procedure. You'll see them mostly on pages 4 and 5. Your rules of procedure on the last page say that they should be placed on the agenda and then set for a public meeting, which is today, and then set on the next subsequent agenda for approval. So I wanted to provide these to you tonight for your review. And you can see we made the changes regarding quorum and notification.
We need any action?
No, that will be at a subsequent meeting,
Okay,
presumably next month.
thank you.
Can we ask questions?
That's at the meeting, right? Are we gonna do
It's your
that?
prerogative.
We could open it up now. Questions?
So two questions. On page 4, at the top above Article 3, Agenda Order of Business, the last paragraph there, any item confirmed on the agenda is deferred at the applicant's request in less than 14 days. I'm just wondering how that language relates to the new state time limits. And that might be a question for Steve.
Where are you? What page? Right, oh, right here. Any deferred? Well, I mean, the state timeline is the state timeline.
Right.
So,
Do these, how do these relate to that? I guess is what the question is.
So,
I'm confused at your question. In other words, once something's registered complete, if it's confirmed on the agenda, and are you asking whether it's going to be continued, or?
So
It says.
requests less than 14 days in advance will
Will
be
be
rescheduled for the second month. So how does the second month relate to the state time limits?
Oh, I
guess is the
see.
question.
If we're in the
Yeah.
90 days, we'd have to figure that out. So if it, and we've done that before, so if you continue it to the second month, remember, we had this conversation with this applicant right here. So as long as, if the applicant agrees to it, that would be one, you could continue it. And if it's within the 90 days, you could continue it. If not, then you'd have to continue it to the next month. So I think the rule is okay here.
Okay,
But there would be situations where we would not be able to continue it if we're up against any new timeline.
okay. And then I had another question. Section 2, the third paragraph down on the same page. Questions directed to a speaker or expert shall be made through the chair. And it has the next line, cross-examination of expert by anyone other than the board shall be governed by the chair at his discretion. I guess, and this might be just a clarification, can board members ask the speaker questions, or do we have to?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can address it,
board members can ask. What
You
that
just
says
do it.
is that, cross-examination is not a right for a zoning board or planning board.
Yep.
So another attorney can't, unless the chair allows it, doesn't have the right to cross-examine. So it would be up to the chair to allow it. And any questions from from that would have to go through the chair, but you're allowed to ask any questions you
Right.
want.
Okay.
And you go through the chair anyways, just by saying through the chair. So, I
Thank
mean,
you.
some boards are much more formal on how they address this. It just would interfere with the flow of how we do things.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I can address something to Mr. Friday?
Yep.
In terms for your first point, any confirmed agenda item, that's more along the lines also of like site reviews, which are not public hearings. Public hearings kind of, like what Steve was referencing, have certain.
Yeah, ours would only be subdivisions,
So
so
the site reviews don't have the time limit?
they really, yeah, they don't, we have to do it within a reasonable period of time. And there are certain reviews, if it's a town council review of that has a certain 45 days, I believe. But there are, site reviews, because they don't go on the zoning board the next month anyway.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Do we need to make a motion or anything, or this is just going to go to the next?
No,
meeting?
this is just for your review, so next month, if you have any additional changes, we can certainly talk about it then.
Great.
And then, if you're satisfied, or if you're satisfied with the amendments on the floor, then we can
Okay,
vote to approve.
thank you. I'm going to ask indulgence of the board, before we go into approving minutes and stuff, if we can move public hearing up, because this poor gentleman probably has had a long day, and he's just coming here to say a very quick sentence. You guys okay with that? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to recuse myself anyway. All right, so the board would like to move the public hearing, C1, Clark Road subdivision, preliminary plan, major subdivision with street creation, plat lot V, lot 27.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself.
Yes, I was going to hold you up.
Good evening, James Murphy on behalf of the applicant. We're moving to continue this matter at a date certain in November. We did receive the permit. We received it on October 9th, so the board needs time to review. I'm asking for the next date in November, whatever that is, as a date certain.
Yep. Staff have
Clerk,
any
Heidi.
problem with that?
No, I don't.
Okay.
It's 19th, November 19th.
November 19th would be the next meeting. Okay? Just for the staff's information, all the information is in and complete. It just didn't get in time for analysis to be presented at this board meeting.
Incorrect.
Oh, incorrect. I'm fine.
Yes, no, and pardon the abruption, but I just want to make it clear for the applicant here that they're not complete,
Okay,
that we're still waiting for additional information.
all right. Do you understand what we're waiting for?
Yes, and we got my understanding is we have the permit. We're waiting on our expert to provide some revised plans, and we should be good.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I haven't given you the okay yet. You understand how thin my patience has been. And I'm sure yours are too, but I know you do. All right, so this matter, with the approval of the board, by voice vote, will be moved to November 19th. All
So
those in
moved.
favor?
Right.
Okay. See you in November. Okay. It was a voice vote. Doc made the motion. Mr. Friday seconded it. It was a unanimous vote.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to go back now to approval of the minutes. We have August 20th. We have September 17th. We'll take one at a time. August 20th. Do I have any comments, questions, concerns? Mr. Friday? Nothing?
I'm good. Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the August 20 meeting.
Mr. O'Neill, are you good with that?
Second, yep.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Friday, seconded by Dr. O'Neill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I have minutes from September 17th. Any questions, concerns, or issues with that?
Yeah, I didn't see any,
I don't hear any. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
so moved.
Do I have a seconded? I don't have a seconded?
I'm not here, so
We were both absent, so we can't
Oh,
second.
you were both absent.
Correct.
you need to continue.
We'll continue it until we have, thank you very much.
Okay, do you need a motion to continue?
Yeah,
So moved.
all right. favor?
Aye.
Okay, so motion carries. So we're moving approval of the minutes September 17th to the November 19th meeting. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Right. Clark Road has been continued. We have one site review tonight, and that is, so we have a site review, D1 on our agenda, Turnberry Realty, Plat F, Lot 25, 366 Ocean Road. The applicant is submitting a request to construct a 9 by 23 plunge pool with an associated outdoor patio area of 10 by 60, a bocce court at the above referenced property. This project requires a variance of a special use permit from the Coastal Resources Overlay District under section 4.4 and a variance from the dimensional regulation under 6.4. That is a side yard setback of 22.9 feet. The Coastal Resources Overlay District is a 35-foot variance and a special use permit. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll recuse myself.
Okay, I have one member who recused himself. I hate that word.
Yeah, recuse, isn't it?
Yeah, I refuse to
Something funny about
recuse.
that word.
It is, so. Dr. O'Neill will step out. Okay. All right, Dr. O'Neill signed the paperwork. Okay. If you can identify yourself and your role in this, we'd appreciate it.
Sure. If it pleases honorable board, my name is Vincent Indalia. I'm an attorney. I represent Turnberry LLC, Realty LLC, which is the applicant in this case. I'd like to thank you, Mr. Chairman, the Honorable Madam Director, and Stephen. I assume that you've all had an opportunity to review the staff's recommendation or report. We are here, as Mr. Brady's indicated, seeking both a variance and a special use permit. This property is an R80 zone. The property itself meets the size requirements in this area of Ocean Road. It just simply has, as you can see, I don't know if you call that a flag shape or a hockey stick shape entrance where the frontage makes it technically non-conforming. It's also fairly unique, even though it's 2.5 acres plus minus, in that it is very close to the coastal feature, and a significant amount of the real estate has to take into account that coastal feature from the buffer, and it's not developable. The use that they seek here, the primary use, is what's been described as a plunge pool or a swimming pool, which is a permitted use in the R80 zone. So they're coming here for you for a dimensional variance. We provided, and I'm going to make, if it's okay with the chair, or your who's the secretary now? Well, it's a great position to have been in. I can speak from personal experience. You want to hide? And what I did was, it may be somewhat redundant, but staff are giving you, I want each of you. Little pictures. So this obviously this application came in under the new, what I call the new statute. Next year will be the old statute, but it's 45
2440 and also 41 under the state of Rhode Island's revision to the zoning ordinances, to the enabling act for the zoning ordinances. And we're still here seeking a dimensional relief for that swimming pool. As you can see, up here is the site plan that was prepared back in June. It's the same site plan, I think, that is part of what I handed you, as well as what was with the application. Of note, I would point out to you that you can see where the existing garage is in this area. This garage has been there for a long, long time, as is the house. And you'll see that the setback for where the swimming pool is, which is in blue, is within the same setback as the garage. So while it does come within the area of setback, it doesn't protrude any closer to the neighbor than what's already existing. These site plans were prepared by American Engineering, and the other plan, which is submitted as well as the landscape plan was prepared by Mather and Page, and that's just been put up before you. Thank you, Ryan. And that depicts what the landscaping would be, so you can see that everything will be properly shaded from neighboring views, et cetera. I would suggest to you that if they were here to testify, and because you were only getting the recommendation, they would be live testimony in front of the zoning board, but we're here asking for a recommendation tonight. We would ask that you accept my proffer that their testimony would be that the plans that they prepared are done to a reasonable degree of engineering and landscaping architectural certainty, that those setbacks are accurate. We have met with the staff, and I don't think Mr. DePani has any disagreements with the figures of the setbacks. If there are, speak now. We're correct, aren't we? Okay. And then there is the plan to redo and place the area where the patio is going to be and the area surrounding the swimming pool. I do note that the staff on October 9th, when they gave us their recommendation, had a comment about the fireplace, which I really wasn't sure about. I was going to ask about that here, if any of the board members had questions of staff about the fireplace that's proposed there. I wasn't sure if it was a height request or a setback issue.
Nope, that was just clarification for the board, because on, I'll show you here. It says that it's 17 feet from the side yard setback, so I wanted it to be clear that they were going for the 24.1, not 17, and I clarified that by stating in conversation with the building official that the fireplace is under 144 square feet, so therefore it's exempt from having to maintain the standard setback.
So when you consider this analysis, and of course you can ask whatever questions you want at any point in time, you're first of all required to determine whether or not it's a permitted use. I would suggest to you that this is in fact a permitted use. In trying to decide whether or not to grant a dimensional variance, I'm sure the new language is kicking into everybody by now, that you have to make a determination as to, see if I can get the exact language for you. Determining, first of all, whether or not the hardship suffered by the owner of the property, if not granted, amounts to more than a mere inconvenience, and the new language is meaning that the relief sought is minimal to a reasonable enjoyment of the permitted use to which the property is proposed to be devoted. So again, here, this is a permitted use. They have located the pool in a place where it will not be seen by members of the public. Their plantings demonstrate that to the south, where their closest neighbor is, that there are ample plantings blocking the view. From the north, from the west, it's blocked by the garage. And of course, from the east, you have the ocean. It is located in that spot, and the testimony would be that if you can see on the plan, there is a fairly large-sized out system in the back. And then you have the setback requirements from Coastal Resource Management that would prohibit any significant disturbance in the back. So they located this permitted use in an area that would be, one, farthest from the neighbors, and two, not disturbing the environmental concerns of the coastal resource area. None of this is going to create any additional runoff or water runoff onto any other neighboring properties, and we are fairly well within the lot coverage ratios that are required. I think that we meet all of the standards that are required under Section 18. And in fact, in our proposal, which albeit came in very late, which was today, she actually sent it on Friday, but I got it to Jill. Jill acknowledged she got it today, and I've given it to you in your books there. We've gone through each of the required findings and given you some factual basis upon which you can rely in determining whether or not to grant this relief. Questions, please.
Okay. Dr. O'Neill has recused himself. Mr. Friday? Okay. Mr. Callahan?
When we get these things near a coastal feature, while it's not the purview of this board, it is the purview of the zoning board on the special use permit in the overlay district. The language is interesting because the language says that in granting a variance in conjunction with a special use permit in an overlay district, the zoning board must make a specific finding of fact, defining any environmentally sensitive feature, which I presume would be the coastal feature here.
Right, the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah. To be protected, and the manner in which granting the special use permit and variance will enhance the protection. So I'm wondering if you could just help me understand how doing this will enhance the coastal features, protection of the coastal feature.
It is a factor that the zoning board has to make that finding, and I would look at it in a totality of circumstances. There's not putting a swimming pool in any place doesn't necessarily enhance a coastal feature. However, you look at this coastal feature and what it's zoned for and it's used for by human beings, which is an R80 zone, all up and down along historic Ocean Road. In this particular case, the swimming pool is self-contained. It is a coastal feature that is enjoyed by private residents up and down that area, except for the end of Newton Avenue, the end of Hazard Avenue, and the areas that the state of Rhode Island has designated when they took Black Point as areas that are open to the public. But this area, and when we saw on the aerial when it first came up, that benefit is for, I would suggest, the people that live and own the real estate along that coastal feature. So how does it benefit it? It benefits it to the people that get to use that coastal feature, which in this case is the owners of the property get to benefit it. It's not a generic benefit of all people, and it's not necessarily that it benefits the coastal feature by making grasses grow better. I will tell you that one of the requirements that's always imposed by all of these boards is that when you do the construction, you have to use appropriate seeded grasses. You're not going to use any further types of fertilizers that aren't non-natural fertilizers. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, oh, any construction along that area is suddenly benefiting the Atlantic Ocean. It's human beings building and using it in accordance with the municipal codes to build. So I don't know that that gives you the answer where I can say,
It's not, like I said, it's not our purview. When you go to the zoning board, someone may or may not raise it, but again, I can certainly make the argument that it doesn't detract or it doesn't diminish. I just can't make an argument. The language actually says enhance, and I simply don't know that I've heard an argument here that what the plan is includes something that will enhance the protection of the feature, of the coastal feature. But again, I don't want to spend a lot of time on it.
no, but it's an interesting point, Tom, you know, I mean, and it's an issue that, I'm not going to deny that language says there, that you're supposed to enhance it. My argument, it's an argument, is it's enhancing it for that neighbor or that owner. The other thing I'd like to point out is in the package I did give you, which was not submitted, we did get from the abutters list, all the abutters were notified for zoning. 2 of the abutters wrote favorable letters in favor of it. The other thing that you have to consider under section 18.5 is whether or not this particular use is something that's used or within the area. And as I think you can see from the aerial that was given earlier and the representations, including my good recused friend here who likes swimming pools himself, we have swimming pools up and down along that area of the coastal features on that area of Ocean Road. You can see it right there in the front, and the next door neighbor to the right, or the top of it, there's 2 more pools in that direction as well. So I would my ask is, Mr. Chairman, that a motion be made to find that our application is indeed complete. I think Ryan's indicated that. And it does conform with the town's comprehensive plan because it is in an R80 zone, it meets the requirements of an R80 zone, and it's a permitted use. I would ask that a motion be made that we have established the requirements under section 6.4 of the standards required for a dimensional variance, that not granting us the right to use this permitted use would be more than a mere inconvenience, and that you make a motion that that you recommend to the zoning board that we have also met the requirements for the special use permit for the Coastal Resource Overlay District, notwithstanding Mr. Callahan's observation and argument that could be made.
And I just have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
As you may know, we have a kind of an epic litigation battle going on regarding the swimming pool and bushes and shrubs and stuff like that. Is there any shrubbery on the side of the pool going down for neighbors or any proposed border on that side of the plan?
So if I look here, Ryan, can you flip to? Right here? I believe.
I would like, I'm going to interrupt.
Yes.
I didn't get an opportunity to ask my questions, but no, that's fine. No, that's fine, because it ties in. You noted and you stated that your argument is because the existing garage is there, that everything else should be approved, because it's within the setback of the garage.
Well, no, not exactly that, but I was pointing out that both of them are in the setback.
Yep. So under one of the conditions of a special use is noise. And I would argue that garages don't make noise. They're stagnant, and if there's any noise, it approaches from the opposite side of the neighbor, which would be towards the north side of this picture, whether that's actually north or west.
This down here where I'm flashing this would, I think, be
I believe the garage entrance is on the other side, where the drive is.
Drive comes right in over here, correct? You see the
So-
gray?
So if you look and you actually extend the line of the garage, the swimming pool is there, but a lot of the outdoor living, which is a considerable change to this because it's not there now, the outdoor living room now extends actually beyond the setback of the garage, and then the bocce is beyond that. So under special use permit, one of the main issues is noise. And as I said, garages don't make noise. But Section E is very specific about specifications of screening and buffering with reference in type and dimensions and character, and I saw nothing of that to screen for the neighbor, because the bocce is basically almost on that property line from what I can see.
Yep.
And bocce is a very enthusiastic sport, and while it's only probably a few months of the year, this is all outdoor living now. So this is noise generation that wasn't there or would have been inside. It's certainly been extended. So my question is, under special use, which is a significant granting of this board or the zoning board, I see nothing in this plan to address noise whatsoever.
You want me to address it?
Yeah, I would,
Okay, sure.
because it's not addressed in anything I found.
So Ryan, if you could go to the, this is the site plan, I think that we go to the, right, and if you can zoom in on the bocce court area there. Beautiful. So all along the bocce court, there's already a partial stone wall that exists along, but not on the borderline. It's on the inside. And all along here is proposed planted shrubbery to, one, block the view for both the neighbor and the owner, and also to provide some diminution of noise. Over here, these are very large plantings here. This is lawn. There's already a tree here, and then the garage. And as you pointed out, Mr. Brady, it runs right here, and we're just inside. However,
The pool is inside.
Yeah, the pool is
But the
inside.
rest of the development does exceed.
Right, the rest of the development here is where they would have a dining area and whatever on this 2.5-acre parcel, which they already have outdoor living here. And, you know, it's a family. I suppose they're not, it's not a bed and breakfast, it's not a hotel, it's not anybody other than a family with a, I believe it's a 4-bedroom out system that's approved. And so I would suggest, and politely so, because your question's well pointed out, it's right there in the ordinance, I'm not ignoring that, that if they weren't asking for a swimming pool, let's say
I
they
would
did.
still ask for the same, I would still ask the same.
No, no,
question.
let's say they didn't even come to you for relief. The same number of people still live there, they could have the same number of parties, they could have the same number of things.
But they are here, and you are requesting this.
But I
I'm
don't know that a
simply
swimming
asking-
pool makes any noise. Yeah, you're asking?
So this addition is not going to make any noise,
Well-
is what you're saying?
Well, there'll be noise during construction.
No,
right?
no.
There'll be noise if somebody walks outside and they whistle to their dog. There'll be noise if they sit around the fireplace in the evening and they talk and they have a cocktail. And there won't be any noise if nobody's out there.
I'm not arguing that. So my question is, under special use,
Yeah?
it asks for, and all I'm simply asking for, is what is the screening buffer? And it asks for specific types, dimensions, and characteristics that are going to be used to mitigate, because you're not going to eliminate all the noise, but to mitigate the noise for the neighbor. That's all I simply asked.
Yeah, I'm just telling you that the plan was to add in this buffer of hedgerow alongside here.
So do we have a plan for that?
Well, this is an approved architectural plan. If I didn't have the landscape architect come, as I said, they'll come to zoning. And if you want to make a recommendation as part of your recommendation that I'm asking you to favorably approve, that it be subject to a detail of the hedgerow. And if you want us to get a study done of what the types of sounds are and the types of decibels for a party or a dinner party or people playing in the bocce court, I'm sure all of that can be done. These people are very willing to provide whatever information is necessary. I agree with you. The garage in and of itself doesn't make any noise. People make noise. So I'm more than willing to go along with that recommendation, and we provided it zoning. And if you want to make that part of the recommendation to zoning, that the sound levels be specifically considered and that we provide something to show that we won't increase what the level of sound is, be more than happy to do that. I don't think it's an unreasonable request.
Counsel, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that was it. It was
Step.
just, we were on the same page. That was just my question
Okay.
regarding screening on the property.
Yeah, because I didn't see any specifications as to what kind of, usually we get very specific, especially when you're encroaching this close to a neighbor's property line. We get very specifics as to what the plantings are, how tall they are, that they're year-round.
Let me ask you,
Where they're
Steve,
gonna
did we get
be-
a list from Mather and Page as to exactly what those, no? We didn't, I don't have it. I'm
Okay.
sure that,
All right.
I'm sure that they're figuring out what the plantings are, Mr. Brady, because this is not a cheap project, and I'm sure that the dollars they're spending on putting the plantings are
Okay.
there, so.
All right.
Don't have a problem
Counsel,
with
I usually go to you first before I speak. Do you guys have anything to add or questions to add? Sorry to step on your toes on this. Okay. I have one more before I turn it over to the public. While Mr. Callahan might have been satisfied with your answer on enhancing the coastal feature protection, I understand the improvement for the owner of their access and enjoyment of the coastal feature. That's not my question. My question is protecting the coastal feature. And if you look at this design, this is all new impervious construction here. You've got an outdoor living space, beautiful. I envy them. I don't even have a yard that big as that outdoor space. I think it's going to be beautiful. I don't see, if you look at the pitch, while specifics aren't given on the pitch, and I wish there was some, I wish this was a little bit more detailed. The pitch goes from the front to the back towards the ocean. So I look down, I see an existing tree, and I see lawn. But I don't see anything else added that is going to take this additional runoff and maintain it. I don't see a water garden feature. I don't see any plantings, any drainage, anything that would indicate that I'm not even looking for an enhanced protection. I'm looking for mitigation of the runoff from the pitch of all of this going towards the ocean side.
Yeah, I believe that the testimony of the American Engineering would be that at the back of the coastal feature, where the coastal feature is within that 200-foot, 225-foot zone, that you're at a level 30, where this is higher than that, it's at 40. And then you have the whole length of the property, which is almost 350 feet before you get to a 20, which is along the stone rocks. Their testimony would be, to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty, that any runoff from the proposed patio will all be absorbed before it gets to the coastal feature. Keep in mind that we still need to go and get the final approval from coastal. They've sat down and they have indicated, what do they call it, Steve, a determination?
Yes, a jurisdictional determination. Preliminary determination.
And we'll be meeting with them with that because they have indicated they prefer that before they get a full-blown application. So Coastal, who is the actual Coastal Resource Management Council, who actually will study that in detail. If they say, no, you can't build there, then we're not going to build there. However, the initial reaction is that engineering-wise, from American Engineering, we've been advised, and the applicant's been advised, that there's not going to be any drainage or runoff into the coastal feature as a result of the swimming pool and the patio and the fireplace.
Anybody from the public want to make a statement? Recognize Mr. O'Neill. Mr. O'Neill? Okay. Dr. O'Neill, if you could come up, address yourself.
Well, a couple things. First of all, I wasn't aware about the bocce court. That's an interesting addition, and I'm the neighbor to the left on that screen, to the west. So the bocce court is, well, as was pointed out, it's a noise issue, but it's right on the property line. And that house, you don't see it in the drawing there, but that house is pretty close to there. So I'm obviously not sitting up there, but I would definitely question that if I was up there. In any case, so I wrote a letter of support for the swimming pool because if you look around, everybody to the north, south, east, and west has a swimming pool. In our neighborhood, I guess it's if you live on Ocean Road, you have a swimming pool, I guess. I don't know. I've had one for about over 40 years. The point I want to ask, and I don't see it on the drawing there, but I spent my whole life trying to save people's lives, and I have a swimming pool with a 5-foot perimeter fence around it, and anytime anybody does any work for me, they know that they get the lecture. Those gates open and close and lock all the time, anytime the pool is available. I don't see any fencing, or maybe, I know in North Kingstown I have a relative who has a pool like this, and they have an electric cover that when you step out of the pool, you hit the button and the cover covers the water. Because everybody in this room probably knows we lose hundreds of people die in swimming pools every year. To make the point, because it always impresses me, I don't know if you know the name Stu Leonard. He's a high-end person down in the New York area. I think he's got about a dozen specialty shops, special wines and foods. Every May, he comes on the news programs down there because he has guilt. He feels terrible. He and his wife let their 5-year-old granddaughter drown in the swimming pool because they had no barrier to prevent somebody from slipping in that pool. And every year I hear that, and it reminds me how unnecessary that is. Not to get too carried away, but there's a property nearby. They've never closed the gate, never, around the swimming pool, ever. I just think, tragedy can be prevented. And as I say, there is and I know it's legit in North Kingstown. I don't know about in our town, whether you could, would you know that, Jill? Can you use a cover to cover the pool?
Yeah, I believe it's the state building code.
Can do that to, which, it saves water and chemicals, and you can walk on those covers, by the way. They're really very, very efficient and effective. But I didn't see any barrier, as I say, around the pool in any way. And I just wanted to make sure that somehow that was addressed. Okay, thank you.
I can address for Dr. O'Neill and for the board. This pool is anticipated, or will have, and it's been discussed with Wayne Pimentel already, the use of a solid electronic roll cover that meets the state building code for a protective measure versus the, I think it's 4 feet or 4.5 feet of a impervious fence. When I say impervious, I mean not a shrub, but a fence that would go around the property. So this does call for that, and that would be in the building plans, and it would be a requirement to be able to get the building permit. And I guess, since Ryan, Mr. DePonte, would you mind putting up the actual aerial? Because I want to address Dr. O'Neill's and, again, Mr. Brady's concern. See, all along this area here, there is already a double hedgerow that comes all the way up here. And my understanding was, that the area right in here, which is going to be with the patio, and even over here with the bocce court, none of that requires any zoning relief. I know that the bocce court comes close, but it would be like if you had a croquet court or kids were playing wiffle ball or anything else. That doesn't require any relief over here from the zoning code. I think it's one of the reasons they might have gone out and asked some of the neighbors for their opinions, and that's why we got the letters back from Dr. DePreet and Ms. Folks. I'm sorry we didn't ask you, Doc. I didn't think it would be appropriate. So I just want to address that. And as I said before, if you wanted to put something in as a requirement that sound be a consideration and that there be further something in the way of an expert or whatnot as part of your recommendation, we'll do it. And if you want to say that the sides of fencing be a certain height because you're worried about the sound, that's fine too. I do keep in mind, however, that some of these folks do get ocean views looking from the neighbors, so going high or going up with a solid opaque fence, and don't want to get into that fight with a neighbor about blocking a view either. So, again, I advise what I would like you to consider as the motions for this, one that is complete and it meets the comprehensive plan. And I don't think I cut off anybody else from the public, but I might have, so I apologize.
Just to readdress that, one of the requests is a special permit. And under the special permit, Section E addresses screening and buffering with reference to type, dimension, and character. So it is well within the purview of our recommendations and our requests. So, sir, would you?
They answered my question. I just, the pool's going to be covered and it will not be drained in the off-season? Are they going to drain it down into the ocean?
No, I don't think it gets drained completely down into the off-season because I think there's always a concern that with the type of pool that if you empty it, it could be pushed right up out of the ground if you get a heavy rain or a heavy snow or something like that. So you want to keep the water inside of it.
Anybody else from the public? Okay. Mr. Friday, any redirect? No? Mr. Callahan, any redirect?
Yeah, could somebody clarify for me, is the paving associated with the patio pervious or impervious? I thought I saw on the diagram that it was pervious.
Could you introduce yourself and I'll have you testify too, so.
Yeah, so I'm Matt Morgan. I'm with Sweener Builders. I'm the project manager for the project.
Do you want him sworn in? No, it's not a swearing in type thing, okay.
So it is pervious, and we plan to collect it using a rain garden system. So
I thought I saw it as being labeled pervious. I just wanted to clarify, because I think there was some question about whether it was pervious or impervious.
so we would collect any of the rainwater in a rain garden.
And where would that rain garden be located?
I have to see.
See this? Just press that little button.
I think I'd have to look, but I believe it was over in this area right here.
Is it on the landscape plan?
We'd have to, might be on the engineering. I'd have to ask Matt
Okay.
from American.
But in any event, it would be obviously not where the chaise lounges are listed, but would it be toward the back of the property so
Yes.
it would flow in the direction
Yes.
of gravity?
Yeah.
Okay.
Staff? Again, on my part, I did the calculations. It's a 14% pitch on that, which isn't insignificant. And on the plan, there is no rain garden, so there was no obvious means of catching that. I mean, again, we're looking at a special permit, which does specify that screening and buffering, again, should be specific to type, dimension, characteristics, that would include height. I don't see any of that. So if this board is to recommend in favor, I would ask that we include that there is inclusion of a rain garden to catch runoff from this new living area, outdoor living area, and that a specific and detailed plan, mitigation plan for noise containment, because you're not going to eliminate it, but at least mitigate it, as to buffering, types, height, depth, and include year-round. Because this activity is really right on that. And if you go to the picture, there's nothing else on the other side, I believe. So, would have liked to see more detail. It might have helped answer some questions. Also, so if the rain garden is there and it's catching the runoff from the pitch of the outdoor area, that would address at least, it would enhance protection of the coastal features, which answers that question for me. And then the noise issue would be addressed for me. And then, so pools do not need a fence as long as they have that cover? Yeah. Okay. But that cover has to be manually activated, correct? It doesn't just automatically go on, does it?
There's one, there are sensors, and
Okay.
two, there are schedules that you can
Okay.
hook them up on.
I know there's alarms, things that you can put in.
Right,
If
the
a
wire
splash
lines
hits,
go a certain amount.
it'll close automatically or set up an alarm in the house and stuff like that. Okay. Any other things from the public? Nothing? Hearing none from anybody? Do I have a motion from the board?
So I make a motion, tax assessors Plat F, Lot 25, 366 Ocean Road is complete and consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Do I have a second on that?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Do I have a recommendation to the zoning board as to this project?
Mr. Chairman, I make a recommendation for tax assessor Plat F, Lot 25, 366 Ocean Road, incorporating the staff's report and conditions affirmatively, with additional conditions, and I'm not sure if it would be 7 or 7 and 8, but detailed landscape plan for year-round noise containment with screening between the new development and the southern property boundary, with buffering types, height, depth, and then mitigation for runoff of the new patio, rain garden. And then include in the specifications also that the swimming pool will have a cover.
Automatic cover.
Automatic cover.
Mr. Friday, if I may, add one more. I forgot to add a condition. This property is located in the Ocean Road Historic District, and I forgot to add a condition that the approval would be contingent upon approval from HTZ.
I add that to my motion.
Council, do you understand all the conditions placed from the staff in this report?
I do.
Okay, do you understand and accept the conditions of special permit as it covers this project, as laid out in the staff report?
As in the staff report and as in the motion.
That was my next question. Do you understand the conditions requested by this board in lieu of recommendation to the zoning board of an inclusion of a rain garden that would sufficiently handle the runoff from the outdoor living area, specified landscape noise abatement or mitigation, buffer as to type, height, depth, and year-round considerations, that an automatic swimming pool cover be continued, and that it is all conditional as to the historic district.
Understood.
Okay. So I have an affirmative motion with those conditions. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Good luck in zoning.
Thanks. This is yours.
Do you guys want to take a break before we go into the next thing? Or you want to keep going? Okay. Dr. O'Neill, call you back to work here, my friend.
They've been there for over 2 years.
Wow. Okay. First, inclusionary zone legislation. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I have a list of reports that I'd like to get through tonight. The first, as mentioned, is the inclusionary zoning legislation discussion. I provided for you today the statute with red lines, so you can see it. It's only 3 pages long. It's not a very long law to get through. But I wanted to ask today, I didn't want to go through the inclusionary zoning ordinance. What I wanted to ask for is direction from the board and how you'd like to proceed. Would you prefer to do a quote page turn of the 4 or 5 paragraphs of it and discuss the merits of each one? What's a mandate, where you have some wiggle room? Or would you prefer the staff to put something together for you? I don't want to, I ask that because I want to make sure that what I put before you is what you want and not something that the staff thinks that you want and then changes are made. So if we were to do it the first way, then I can compile your feedback into an ordinance, which is feasibly ready to go.
I have some questions. I have no problems with you coming back to us with something that we could work from. I think, for me, I'm a visual learner, so if I have something in front of me, that helps, that we can discuss. But I had some questions beforehand, but I'll go through each board member. Dr. O'Neill, your preference?
I agree with you. I mean, I think the page turn of the discussion would be helpful to you.
It would be, but I could do both if you like. I can provide you a draft and then have the statute on hand, and we can talk about
Yeah.
why staff is proposing what we're
Yeah,
proposing.
that would be good. That would be good for me personally.
Okay.
Well,
How about you,
I
Tom?
actually think it's only a 3-page ordinance, and it might be useful to just go through it tonight, just get it done.
I have some questions on this anyway that might help in developing our ordinance, but they're just general questions.
Sure.
I don't know, so if the board would indulge me with some questions and maybe generate some. So my first question is, in looking at this legislation, I guess the question that first comes to mind is how much flexibility we have. This doesn't get triggered unless there's 10 dwellings or more.
No.
No? Okay, that's my first question. Can we set when this gets triggered?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. Because 10 dwellings, it's like, not going to happen.
No, that would be, right, that would be a major subdivision. Inclusionary
Yep.
zoning, you can set
Okay.
the trigger point.
Can we restrict, I mean, we're giving up a lot in this and assisting a developer. Can we restrict that it be like owner-occupied, long-term rentals, but no short-term rentals? Is how much? Just think about it. This is, I'm not asking for feedback right now. I just want you to think about these things because, you know, I mean, this board is really trying to develop affordable housing. And in discussions, we've been willing to give in order to get. And and I'll give Jill credit for this, there are two types of affordable housing here. There's capital A, which is affordable, and there's lowercase a, which is long-term. And and those are, we're looking for places where teachers can live, where firemen can live, where policemen can live. And, our efforts are directed in that. Also wondering if we can utilize transfer development rights to enhance this type program. Do we even have, I started going through this, do we have mechanisms for transferring development rights and purchasing development rights?
No.
No.
Okay, so is that allowed under Rhode Island law? I used it in Massachusetts in a lot of places, but, okay, something we can think about. And it was one of the things I'm going to bring up in our workshop is transfer of development rights and what it is, and there's positives and negatives to it, and whether or not the town, we even want to look at creating a situation where, certain groups within the town, whether it be affordable housing or stuff, would like to buy ownership rights for people, development rights for people. So,
Can I just let me follow up on that. Isn't there a recommendation on the last comprehensive plan in the roadmap in terms of exploring transfer development rights?
There could be,
There is,
Mr. Callahan,
I think there is. There's something in the plan which would add strength to your thought, Mark?
yeah. So, the whole notion of fee and lieu strikes me as just really just negates this whole effort. Is that something we have to agree to, or?
No.
Okay, we don't. Okay. Yeah, that's,
Trying to ask something.
that was my last group, I'm sorry.
I was just going to speak to the transfer of development rights. I worked on that pretty extensively in Maryland, and it's challenging to design one that works well.
It is, but I think, unless we look at it,
Yep.
we won't know.
Yeah, the challenge is the receiving area.
Yeah, they're done. I've seen it, wherever I've seen them done, they've worked well, because they were visited and,
Yeah,
revisited,
isn't it usually
revamped.
in a big city? I
Yeah.
mean, it'd be difficult to find
So-
a developer with, where you're moving
Yeah,
around.
so we, like I said, I did extensive work on this in Maryland. We had, I don't know, probably 8 or 10 counties that had TDR programs, and probably only 2 or 3 of them worked well.
Yeah.
And where they worked best, you had realtors that actually were doing brokerage for them, made it work. But the big challenge is that the underlying zoning in the receiving areas in most communities is what the market will bear. So there's no demand for the development rights because the market doesn't support the higher development density from what the underlying zoning is. So that's a challenge.
I think if we look at, and I really didn't want to get into this discussion here.
Sorry.
But if we look at it as not a separate entity in and of itself, but as a tool that can be utilized in, one of the things we're going to come forward to is mixed use. Again, trying to give another profit center for developers to look at doing affordable housing or long-term rentals. And again, we can identify target zones for receiving those, where you can, somebody has a farmland or open space that the town would like to keep open space. You can buy the development rights, the person can continue to use the land, and those can be applied to a designated receiving zone. So I'm just looking at it as a tool that can be utilized to augment some of the strategies that we're trying to put in place. But I think that's a discussion that we have elsewhere. I just wanted to ask those questions. Those are the questions that I had.
Okay. And I can be prepared with more information on TDR for our next meeting, or for the subsequent meeting that this is scheduled for.
Great. All right. Any other questions?
So where do we land?
I'm not sure yet, Mr. Callahan.
Well, I think what I think we were looking for you to put something together, and we'll go through it and ask questions with you and see if we can't get something hammered out.
Okay, I'll put something together, but just so the board is aware and anyone participating this evening, that we're gonna put something together, but it's by no means written in stone. One of my concerns with a draft ordinance is that it feels like it's a done deal, and I wanna make sure that it's not.
So if we can call it a working paper. I think just getting to know everybody here, we're all kind of visual guys. If we can see it, it makes more sense to us, and we can better analyze it. So I think that would be good.
I'll just add one more thing, Mark. I think as you look at it, and I know Mark mentioned teachers, public employees, firefighters, police officers, things of that nature. I think in addition, we shouldn't just be solely looking at this from the eye of workforce housing. I think affordable family housing in Narragansett for a variety of folks would be helpful.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to make that clear,
no.
Mark.
No, I agree. I think, I was just using those because it's a blatant example of who can't live here, and let alone, grown children of people who have been here for generations. So, hazardous mitigation plan, your favorite thing?
Yes, it was approved, so thank you all very much. Yep, it was approved by the town council, it went to FEMA, it was approved pending adoption. The town council adopted it, and so we have an updated plan. So I appreciate everyone's participation in that, and we're good to go for 5 years.
So I think it's important because I want to toot your horns on this. The impact to people living within the community. What does this mean for them?
Well, it means a variety of things. Having an active and valid plan means that the town is in compliance with the National Flood Insurance Program. So everyone who owns a property within the special flood hazard area and receives and has a federally backed mortgage is required to have flood insurance. And right now, the town, because we participate in this program and the community rating system program, and we have an active plan, everyone receives a 15% discount on their flood insurance bill. They probably don't even know it, but they do.
And that's automatic?
It's automatic.
Nice.
And then the plan itself sets up action items of which not only the Community Development Department, but engineering and public works, other departments, parks, maybe to a lesser degree, Parks and Rec. That's part of the advisory committee, but there are action items in that plan that we've been working toward over the last several years, trying to create a better resilience. So one project you might be familiar with is the Foundering Farm Causeway. That's been a high priority action item since the last plan.
Great. Thank you. And thank you on a lot of levels. Bed and breakfast update.
Passed. Second reading was the last town council meeting, and the town council took your recommendation, which was to add in the changes to the use code. So thank you for that.
Awesome. Urban Renewal Zone Award update.
Yes, so for those of you who may or may not be familiar with our urban renewal zone, it was 14 amendments that functioned in a linear fashion that was not part of Appendix A, which is the zoning ordinance in the municipal code. We have a consultant on board. We applied for a grant a couple of years ago to get that grant. And we have a consultant on board to take a look at all of those amendments and the original plan and craft a crosswalk, and then ultimately hopefully to insert it possibly right in Appendix A, but to create something so where we understand to a better degree what the latest regulations are in the urban renewal zone.
Nice. Any questions from anybody?
Did we miss the mixed use?
The who?
We did.
Oh, mixed use, I'm sorry. Oh, I did.
That's okay. So that is scheduled for a public hearing November 18th. Nope, I'm sorry. December 2nd, I believe. Oh, and I should tell you now, the change for the mixed-use ordinance, there was a change between when you reviewed it and recommended approval. There was a change early summer, late spring. There was some case law that basically said that you can't require a maximum front yard setback.
Right.
So I didn't bring it back to you because there was nothing you could negotiate on that. So I struck it out, and I put a note into the town council when they received it, that that's the one difference between what you folks approved and what the town council received.
Can I ask a practical question? We're going to have changes in the town council here in November. Does that change this whole schedule? Does the new town council create their own schedule and things like this that are scheduled, like you said, in December?
Could they set it down, or could they move
Delay
it?
it, or-
Sure they could, Dr. O'Neill. They could. This was but we wanted to get it on for scheduling at least, and then.
Oh, yeah, I know you should try. But I would think that,
And we moved it in that way, there's a time frame of which the town clerk has to notify. It's 3 weeks, so we had moved it out, and that actually pushed us right beyond the election. So it won't be a split council reviewing it. It'll be all the new council.
the new council. Okay.
We can only hope they'll take it out. Okay. Did I miss anything else? Bed and breakfast?
The last one, right, is the board chair update. So, and I don't want to, Mr. Brady, if you indulge me to speak first, the upshot of that meeting, it was productive again, which is those boards will be giving to myself all of their updates for the action plan items that they've either been assigned to, or, if a board was created after the comprehensive plan, where they would fit into that. And then I'm going to take all that information and compile it into one report, which will be presented to you, and all of those chairs would be invited to come in and speak to you, as for clarification or anything. So that way all of that work will come to a public meeting.
You do that as a group, have those chairs, or have them come in singularly so they can?
I
more of a
think we can
dialogue,
do
or-
it as a group, but I would leave that up to you. You could even break the action plan into 2 halves. I mean, you could take, there are several elements, 7 or 9 elements, so you can take 4 at a time, or however you wanted to do that. I mean, when I haven't gotten all of the information yet, so we let the chairs know that it would be great to have that by December. And then we're looking at doing this early January, February.
Just feedback for those in the audience and those at home. This was an initiative that I took up to invite the chairs from the different boards, committees, to meet and create a dialogue with each other. We kind of work in silos. We're trying to open up a chain of communications and also launch the update for the new comprehensive plan. So, this is our second meeting. Again, very enthusiastic. People were excited to talk to each other, exchange. People are meeting that had never met before, and they're actually meeting outside, coordinating some things. One of the things that the chairperson of the zoning board and I are going to sit down and have coffee and talk better about how we word, because we don't do it often. We very seldom do it, come with a negative recommendation to the zoning board. But when we do, we would help them better by making it a more legalese wording. And so we're going to sit down and talk about how we do that better. It's been a very good, however the dynamic is when we meet with everybody, I got to tell you, it's been a very positive, enthusiastic group, so. Yes.
History is interesting, because going back a little bit, I think Vin was on the board, we had more negative decisions. And it was interesting how as I've said publicly, so it's not hiding it at all, we would have a 4-to-1 vote or whatever it happened to be, and every time that they voted was 5-0, 5-0, 5-0. It was always amazing to me that, considering the dialogue we've had here and the difference of opinion, that they don't have a difference of opinion on that board. In any case, why, it's just a little touch of history to it, but I guess we're all marching.
Yeah, no, there's plenty difference of opinion, and also, a lot of times, you mitigate the application.
Yeah.
So by the time your constructive comments are taken at heart, and by the time it gets to the zoning board, it's not the same, while it's the same general application, you know, the requests are usually minimized substantially to make it an approval easier. And then also nowadays, they've lowered the standard for granting a zoning
That's
variance.
another
So,
issue, that's, yeah.
while they haven't lowered the standard for if it's in conformance with the comprehensive plan,
Yeah.
they have lowered the standard for a zoning variance, which makes it, you know, a little more difficult to deny.
Well said, Steve.
Yeah, I was going to add, because there have been certain projects that have come through here that I've watched there, and I applaud this zoning board. But I also see that the applicants are educated applicants when they get there. And I think they're more educated when they're coming here, too. I think the idea of, well, you know, we've always done it this way has changed significantly, but I think, you know, some of the standards have changed and things like that, so, you know, it's good. It's a good thing. Change is good. Sir?
Any public comment? There's no public comment.
I know there's no public comment.
We're pretty casual.
Something you explained earlier.
Yeah.
Because I'm not really sure I understood it. Jill, Madam Director, gave a discussion on the Urban Renewal Zone Award.
Yes.
Can you explain that a little more to me? I'm just
Go
not
ahead.
really sure I understood what the award part was.
Absolutely. We applied for a grant to update the urban renewal zone ordinance because the ordinance works, it was approved, and then there were 11 amendments, and in order to figure out what the latest regulations are, you were hopscotching around. So we applied for a grant through the Rhode Island State Commerce, and we were awarded the grant. So we hired a consultant to do all the legwork for us, which is exciting, because now we won't have to hopscotch through 11 amendments to figure out what the latest landscaping is, what the latest signage is. It will all be brought up to current regulation and then placed in our ordinance.
Yeah, and if you've ever, for anyone who has business in the urban renewal zone, if you ever have seen Mike DeLuca's book, and it's handwritten notes regarding every amendment, stickies, whether it was Mike or the person before him, or the person before him.
There were
Three directors, and for the public, the practitioner, and the staff, there's this grant, or this, what Weston Sampson is working on, isn't changing anything. They're just memorializing that book to get to the action, what is the actual current statute, to be able to put it in the appendix
of the zoning ordinance.
of the zoning ordinance to have, so when you come, we're not looking at, and you've seen that, and I've done it too.
It's a bear to go through, and it can be confusing sometimes.
Correct.
So if I understand correctly, what they're doing is they're not rewriting anything, they're not making any new proposals. It's just a way that we can have essentially a Westlaw version of an ordinance.
What we have, yeah, for the URZ that we have for the rest of our zoning.
And is there a plan with that to do any further amendments with the zoning ordinance, or would it just be,
No.
we fixed all the text, it reads smoothly, it's gonna pop right?
Right, no, so not part of this award. We're just trying to bring everything into one location.
Yeah, now, would it be an idea to, in the future, theoretically, to make the urban renewal zone a mixed-use zone, or
Well,
business
Now
zone?
that you can read,
That's
now
not
that you
for
can
us.
actually read the ordinance and go through it and understand what
Yeah,
it
to what
really is,
we
might
have.
might be the next step that comes before the planning board as a think tank to figure that out, right?
Yep, exactly.
I apologize for interrupting.
No,
It was just,
good question. All right. Anything else the staff would like to add?
No, that's it.
Okay. Members, we have a work session on the 28th. It is a public meeting because we will have a quorum. And we're going to tackle, for those that don't know, this is a meeting we're going to have. When I became chair, I met individually with each member and asked them what they would like to see, what projects they would like to undertake on a planning perspective within the town to enhance the town, make things better. And we have a long list of things. And the goal of this meeting is to invite the public, sit down and start looking at all of these different ideas, and then look at creating subgroups and working on them and seeing what we can't come back with to both the staff and to the town council.
Is that part to go to a proposed formation of the next comprehensive plan?
Some might, some might, it may just be, special projects that we do or something like that. It was, the idea wasn't to put any kind of constringent characteristic to it. The idea was to create as much room for ideas as possible and then see where those bloom or die.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would ask that for that meeting, please let me know what you would like prepared, if anything, outside of the list, is to come away for the staff's benefit, a prioritization of what you're going to take on. I know there are a couple of things on that list that are staff priorities. One of them is inclusionary zoning. And there's a couple more we can talk about when the list is before us next month. So that's one thing I would ask is, there's some things I know that you'd like to work on with subcommittees and whatnot.
And that's, I
There's
think
at least 2 items on that list that would be that could be high priority.
And I think that's going to be a thing that we talk about with us and with you. I think that those rankings and those priorities will be, when we walk out, it'll be a group decision.
Great, thank you.
Okay? And am I wrong in that thought process? Okay. All right.
Question, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman. So when are we going to review the planning board stuff for the comp plan?
I think I think we wanted to, I think the request was at the last meeting that we all do it individually.
Oh, okay.
And then put together notes to go back to you.
What I can do for that, I think what I discussed last time we met was to call everything together, see where we are, and then if you have some feedback on it, and then I can put that back to you. I could either, I think you'd want to take it on your own before you take it in January and February with all of the other
Absolutely.
boards and commissions.
Absolutely.
So that, I mean, that's
I'm sorry.
a conversation, that's a lengthy conversation, so I can get it before you, and then we can decide how you want to handle that, whether it's at a regular meeting. Your agenda, your schedule's pretty light outside of that one public hearing that's coming.
Okay.
We don't have anything in the wings, I don't believe.
All right.
So,
So we've got room to do some creative stuff.
and you have time.
In what came out, and a lot of the chairs are going to redo how they're reviewing their sectors. One of the groups, I forget who it is, actually added, if you look at it, it's a grid, they actually added another column. And for each item, that's where they added their notes as to progress they made, questions they had, things like that, which format-wise and for the staff's sanity might be a great way for us to do it. Okay?
I'm all in favor of staff sanity.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything? No? Steve, anything?
Nope.
Okay. It's that time of the night. Do I hear a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Any seconded? My favorite part of Robert's Rules of Order, it is not debatable. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, everyone.